Hey everybody, my name is Danny Lopez, and today we're going to talk a little bit about this camera. It's the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera. I've seen a lot of reviews online on different rigs. I'm going to explain my rig and why I chose the certain pieces that I've chosen. We're going to go from there, but I'm going to do everything in reverse. I'm going to start off with it completely assembled, and I'm going to take the pieces apart and explain why I chose certain pieces for this rig. I also want to put out there that nobody's paid me for my review. Nobody's paid me to push their product. Everything I have here I've bought with my own money, and I have not gotten any kickbacks from anybody. So without further ado, we're going to start off explaining the rig that I have here. And most of the parts are through a company called Small Rig. I highly recommend them. They're very sturdy, very well-made product, and it competes with the best of them at a fraction of their cost. We're going to go ahead and start disassembling it and explain piece by piece why I chose certain products on this rig. So that's the first little piece is was the matte box from my old Canon XL1, and that's it. That's the matte box from an old Canon XL1 camera. The second piece that I'm going to talk about right now is this little monitor. This monitor is made by a company. I'm hoping I'm saying this right, but Andy Sin. I'm not really sure. I couldn't beat the price for this little 5-inch monitor. It comes with this little hood. It also comes with an actuating arm that is identical to the one that you would buy with the small HD rig. I chose this one because, I mean, you just couldn't beat it for the price. At the time that I started putting this rig together, I was kind of tapped out, and so I wanted to go economic, and I went with this particular brand, and I'm really happy that I did. Anyway, that's the monitor. Next to that, we have the battery. I have a V-mount battery, and the battery that I chose is I believe it's pronounced Comer D&O lighting. Very good battery. It's a 190 watt hour battery. So the V-mount, pull that off, and comes with a D-tap for the camera. Very, very cool. This particular model really only has one D-tap on it, but on the side here you'll see where when you push this button, it tells you how much battery life you still got on it. And at this point I have half a battery life left into it. But when this thing is fully charged, I have filmed I've done several film projects, and I have run on this battery pretty much the entire day. We've shot 8-hour days, sometimes 10-hour days. But of course, we shut it off periodically when we're relighting or moving camera from one position to the other. But basically with this one brick, I was able to power this camera for almost the entire day. Now, going back to the monitor, DCN, it takes 12 volts, and or you can also use the Sony batteries. This particular battery is made by a company called Power Extra, and it is compatible with the Sony MPF 960. It's compatible with those, and I've got 4 of these. And this again has the button here. You can see the lights light up over here. It tells you it's fully charged. The one good thing about these batteries that I really love, and they're cheaper than the other batteries I have purchased in the past, is this right here. On the side here, you pull this out, and you got a USB connection. So I use this to power. I could virtually use this particular battery if I wanted to go really small form fit and really small footprint there. Attach it to the monitor, and you can see it's lit already. But the cool thing about this as well is that on the other side of the battery, that has another little pop out here, and it allows me to take a connector from here directly into the camera, and you can literally run the camera and the monitor off this one particular battery. And that's a really cool feature. You really want to be careful which batteries you pick. This one here has the 12-volt output, which is perfect for running your, you don't want to overpower your camera because you could actually fry these cameras, or you don't want to overpower the monitor because you could do the same thing. So, you know, you want to make sure that you got a battery that's compatible with the system that you're trying to run. So anyway, that's the really cool thing about this particular brand of battery, is that it'll run with the adapter, with the dummy battery. You can actually run the camera and the monitor and get rid of the big brick, which will lighten your load. If you're doing a lot of run and gun stuff and you're doing a lot of handheld stuff, you really don't want that weight there continuously. I want to say one thing, because a lot of people aren't real, from what I'm reading online, a lot of people don't understand what this camera is really for. This is a cinema camera. You know, when you go to purchase a camera, you got to purchase a camera that's going to suit your needs. One of the reasons why I purchased this particular camera is because I'm an independent filmmaker. And as an independent filmmaker, I'm purchasing every and any of my products basically to shoot film. Now, if you're a blogger or you're just a YouTuber, if you're a blogger, like I said, you can get away with using something small like a Sony a6400. Having said all of that, of course, is that you want to make sure that the camera that you buy is going to be compatible with your eventual goals. If you're a filmmaker, you want a cinematic camera, you want a cinema camera, you want a camera that's going to meet the criteria of the independent filmmaker, that's going to be able to, if you're just looking to upload your films to YouTube, or you're just looking to upload it to the web, you don't even need a 4K camera. You know, it'll look a little cleaner, a little crisper, yeah, but you can get by with any basic camera. And if and what a lot of people don't understand as well is that there's different flavors of 4K, and the Blackmagic is no different. They have their Blackmagic Cinema Raw codec. You're going to be able to take that natively and bring it right into DaVinci Resolve, color correct, color grade, and then send it back out. You can go ahead and edit it right on DaVinci Resolve, add all your text, your titles, everything you need right on there. So that's the one good thing about shooting with the Blackmagic camera, seeing that DaVinci Resolve is pretty much the industry standard for color correcting, color grading. What better format to use than Blackmagic Raw that's made specifically to work hand in hand with DaVinci Resolve. So when you buy the camera, and the beauty of it too is that when you buy the camera, you get a full version of DaVinci Resolve. And I think they're up to DaVinci Resolve number 16. Now there's 3 different formats that you can use as far as recording is concerned. You can use CFast cards. You can also use SD cards, and then you can use these smaller SSD drives. This one's made by Samsung. It's a T5. Through Small Rig, they have this deal here that clamps right onto the cage of the camera, and it's made specifically for this. You just slide it in, boom, lock it down, and once you lock it down, all you do is you run from the camera directly here, and you can record directly to the SSD drive without ever having to use the CFast card. And for those of us that have worked with these cameras before, this is really one of the best methods. There is another method where you can use a CFast adapter to a hard drive, but then again, you're using a hard drive. But the CFast cards are very expensive. They're still very expensive. They're coming down in price, but they still are very expensive cards. And anybody who's been, you know, on a budget trying to shoot the independent films, you can go through those CFast cards. You can chew right through them in a matter of minutes, and you got to keep swapping them out for new cards and dumping the footage. But this is the best method. The 1 terabyte that I'm on right now, I'm shooting on the Mini Ursa, the 4.6K camera, the new one, the Gen 2, And with my 1 terabyte card, I can shoot up to almost 500 minutes on that particular drive, and 500 minutes will go a long ways. And if you got 2 of those, you're good to go anytime you shoot anything. So anyway, and I have 2 of these, and once again, I shot most of the day, changing lenses, changing this, changing that, relighting, moving from one location to another. And every time we had to reset up and move the camera to a different location, whatever, we shut everything down. But we ran the entire day shooting scene after scene after scene after scene. It was not a hindrance at all using these small SSD drives by Samsung. And with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, there is a few SSD drives that they highly recommend. There's also a few they don't recommend. So, you know, I suggest that you look at the instruction manual or look at it online to see which drives work best with this particular camera. But when you're shooting, Blackmagic RAW, and you need the detail, and you know these drives work excellent. They have no drop frames. I've shot, like I said, I've worked on 2 different independent films with this camera, and I've used these drives on a regular basis, and I have not suffered any embarrassment by using those cards at all, or these drives. The Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera does not output through SDI. I wish they did. It'd make my life a lot easier, but it does go HDMI, but it goes full HDMI to full HDMI, which is good. You don't have to deal with that mini HDMI problem that a lot of people had. Once you buy the cage, you can buy this little bracket separately, and what it does is it allows you to unscrew this part of it here, which will in turn allow you to remove your cables. So that's a big plus, because you don't want somebody accidentally yanking your cable out right in the middle of a shot. You could lose that shot, or even lose the entire drive from some freak accident happening on set. So that is the big advantage of having that clamp on the cage. Also, moving on here, I have a side handle that I bought, and again, it's through Small Rig. I really like it. It's an additional handle, which makes it really easy, to grip the camera when you're shooting, and if you're going with a small form factor. And the beauty of this also is that it comes with a shoe mount here. The handle can be removed, and it attaches through with these little thumb screws here, and it just makes your rig that much sturdier. Back here, I have a ASIN adapter. It detaches from the back. It hooks up. It's got slots here for the 15 millimeter rods. It also has the little deal here if you want to connect it to certain cameras that the adapter will attach to. I primarily like it individually like this. What I like about it is that once you have, remember we talked about having one DTAP connection onto this battery, but once this battery is attached to this bracket, on the bracket itself, the battery plate, you got another DTAP connection. So once it's connected to this, now that enables you to have 2 different DTAP connections to your camera. So you can run one DTAP for the monitor if you didn't want to use the battery, and the other one directly for the camera. And this one is made by a company called HSIN, I believe is how you pronounce that. But here I have a lens support here made by a company called Came Gear. And what that does is your longer lenses, if they're heavy, those of you who ever shot with a Canon 70-200, the big long Canon lens, you want to have a little support on that. You don't want the camera's weight or the lens weight to destroy the lens adapter or the lens itself, the lens connection itself. So that's what I have that little bracket there for. And what that does is it just sits underneath there and supports the weight of the lens. I also have a Metabone speed booster adapter here, and that is so essential for because this camera is built natively with a 4/3 micro 4/3 sensor, and so in order to be able to put Canon glass, which is what I primarily use, as a matter of fact, all my lenses are made for Canon. This is Sigma 18 to 35, but this is fitted for a Canon camera. So in order to use all my Canon glass, I had to buy the Metabone Speed Booster adapter. Now you could natively start buying micro 4/3 lenses, but originally had started with a Canon 7D, and so I started buying a few lenses for that camera, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to just continue buying Canon glass, maybe not Canon brand glass, but all my lenses I wanted to fit on my Canon camera. So everything I own right now is fitted for the Canon cameras, and this is no different. I got the rod system down here. These are 15 millimeter rods. I have a base plate on the bottom. It slides. It's a Manfrotto quick release setup for my tripod. And once again, that's pretty much it. I'm not going to take this apart because I got to clamp down so hard that I'm liable to break my hands trying to take this off here without the proper Allen screws and whatever, Allen wrenches. But that's the setup for my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera. And just wanted to touch again on why I purchased this camera. Like I said, I'm an independent filmmaker. My primary goal was to produce independent films, do music videos. I want to produce higher end and higher quality videos. It's not to say that because I bought this camera, I'm a great director or a great cinematographer, or whatever. I just wanted my equipment to match where my goals went. If like I said, if you're just going for the YouTube and you're not really not looking forward to if and when you become the caliber of director, cinematographer, or filmmaker that's product is going to actually make it to a big screen or to Netflix or to wherever, then you're okay with buying something smaller, like like I said, the Sony A6400s, the 6600 just came out, the 6500. I mean, those cameras you can get by with the G5, the Panasonic G5. Those cameras, the Sony A7S Mark II. And those cameras are good for what they do. I'm not saying that they're not good cameras. What I am saying is that you have to decide what your niche is going to be. Whether you're a filmmaker, then this is the camera for you. If you're not a filmmaker, and I've spent a lot of money and a lot of regret because I bought the wrong camera or the wrong piece of gear, and later found out that that's not what I wanted. So I had to turn around and buy another piece of equipment to make up for my shortcomings on the decisions I made. So that's something that you would have to think about ahead of time before you purchase a camera like this. Now, just because the camera only costs $1,300 does not mean that the quality is at that level. This camera has been compared to the Alexa, to the Reds, to the to Canon C300s. It's been compared to C200s, and those are all great cameras as well. But when you can take a camera of this magnitude for the price point, and like I said, that's just for the body. You're not getting the lenses, you're not getting the cage, you're not getting all this stuff. Once you start adding different things, and I hear a lot of people whining online about how, oh, I wish it had a tilt screen. Well, if it probably had a tilt screen, it probably would cost you $1,500 or $1,600, or probably cost you $2,000. So most filmmakers going into this, going into the filmmaking business, understand that even if that tilted that's only a very small monitor. On my Ursa Mini, my Ursa 4.6K, the Gen 2 camera, I have a 7-inch monitor on top of it. I would like to buy the electric viewfinder for it as well. That's further down the road. But all of these different things, going into this, I knew that there's no way in the world I'm going to sit there and bring my head down to eye level with this. I knew I was going to need a monitor on top anyway, even if it's another 5-inch monitor. That because there's certain shots that you're going to have to go low and go handheld, and you got your monitor sitting up here where you can view it, or if you're in this position here, you may not be able to see the monitor clearly, but you can tilt the one on top. So, I mean, going into, any serious filmmaker, when you buy a Red or Epic or you buy a Red Dragon, none of that stuff comes with a monitor. The monitor for a Red camera probably costs more than this camera costs buying the whole camera. So those, enough with the complaining. I mean, you're getting a phenomenal camera that has 13 stops of dynamic range. You can color correct your footage. You can spit it back out in various flavors. And, it's a true cinema camera. It's made for filmmakers. So anyway, that's my spiel on it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please smash that like button, subscribe. Please pass the video on to your friends and let them know. I'll see you next time.